All right, what's up everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we have some awesome information for you guys. Before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button. Also subscribe if you are someone new and hit that notification bell to get my videos first. So here we kind of go again, cue the CJ meme with the Nintendo Switch 4K talk, Nintendo Switch Pro talk. But I'm not going to steer this in the direction that I've talked about it before. I kind of want to elaborate on what I discussed, I think the last time that I discussed the Nintendo Switch Pro or the next Nintendo Switch. And it is a scenario that I actually anticipated probably happened with the Nintendo Switch Pro, or what Nintendo wanted to do. There was a podcast recently, the Nate the Hate podcast, where a good friend of the channel, Nate Drake, he actually discussed this as well with MVG, and he talked about that the Nintendo Switch Pro is kind of no more, and Nintendo is now working on a Nintendo Switch 2 or a Nintendo Switch successor, and that will be the 4K enabled device, and that will be launching sometime in 2022 or 2023, something like that, right? And there was some new information that got passed around. I know a good friend of the channel as well. There was Nintendo Prime, in addition to MVG, who talked about these different things with the Nintendo Switch dock and how that has some type of 4K compatibility with it. So the fact that it can be upgraded with firmware, the fact that that Nintendo Switch dock can output the 4K and everything, and also with all of the rumors with developers, sources that have been coming out and stating that they are working with some type of Nintendo Switch 4K device or 4K compatible Nintendo device, it does seem like this will be happening at some point and probably not too far into the distant future. Now, I discussed this before. Here is my scenario. This is what I think happened with all of this. I think that Nintendo was probably looking into a Nintendo Switch Pro or a Nintendo Switch 4K upgrade to the current model, but I feel that Nintendo saw what the Switch was doing, the momentum that it was having, the chip shortage that was going on, and I honestly feel that combined with the potential price of this thing, and just because of the economics at this point with COVID and everything, they decided to just hold off on that, because a 4K upgrade, Nintendo Switch, with the chip shortage going on, with everything that's been happening in the world, would it be the best time to launch that type of product, especially if it was going to be somewhere between $400 or more? Probably not. And they decided to go with the Nintendo Switch OLED instead, which would be absolutely brilliant if it was a 4K compatible device with an OLED screen. That would be absolutely awesome. I think people would really love that. But what would the price of that be? How much would they be able to pump those out? Would there be huge shortages? So I think all of the negative things outweigh the potential positive of having a device like that. And I feel that Nintendo probably opted, this is all just hypothetically, this is all just me just basically speculating, okay? Hypothetically said, you know what, let's not do this. Let's go ahead and make this the next system. Let's ride the Nintendo Switch out. We still have a lot of big software coming out. So for example, there is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. There is Mario plus Rabbids 2. That game is coming out. There is a brand new Splatoon game, Splatoon 3. There is Triangle Strategy. There are a lot of good titles coming out in 2022. Pokemon Legends Arceus, So there's really no need to rush out this 4K type of device or their next generation system or a revision when the current Nintendo Switch model is selling extremely well and people have responded positively to it. And even with the Nintendo Switch OLED, people are loving that. Those that have got their hands on that device. Yes, the Nintendo Switch is definitely not perfect. You guys know I don't feel that. There's definitely things that Nintendo is doing to add to the formula and stuff that they still need to add with the system itself. But I still feel, like I stated before in a previous video, some of you guys probably missed this one, the Nintendo Switch is the genesis of the Nintendo's rebirth. And I'm not talking about the Sega Genesis. I'm talking about the word Genesis, the rebirth, the start, the push for something new. This is the groundwork. This is the foundation of what they're going to be building for the next 20 years or so with NVIDIA. So this is just the beginning. It's the groundwork for it. And I feel that it's going to get progressively better and better and better, but it's just been slow at this point. We're seeing the Nintendo Switch Online expand to new different games, provide a new tier and option and everything. I think that Nintendo's going to add in other stuff like the Bluetooth headsets can now be used. It's been a while since the Switch's launched. People were looking for that for a long time, but they're slowly but surely adding in things as this is the beginning, and they're making sure everything is stable. So that is my thought process with this, at least. And of course, you guys can check out the full video if you haven't already watched it. I highly suggest to go watch it over there on the Nate the Hate channel. So what do you guys think about my hypothesis of what's going on with the Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 4K, next Nintendo Switch? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here, we do have a little bit of a problem with Metroid Dread. Now, I'll admit that I don't think I've run into this issue at this point, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't put it out there so you guys don't have an issue with it, because there is a little bit of a progression stopping bug in Metroid Dread. Now, this is one of the most polished games that I have ever played. I have not run into any bugs or errors or resets or anything. This is an extremely high quality polished game, but there is this error, but there is a very easy way to avoid it. So we're going to go over that. Nintendo put out this tweet and also had this on the official America support page. The software was closed because an error occurred. Error message appears near the end of Metroid Dread. There's no spoilers in this either, guys, so don't worry about this. This applies to all of the Nintendo Switch family of systems, regular Nintendo Switch, Switch Lite, Nintendo Switch OLED model, whether you're playing in docked or portable mode. And the information in this article can help if near the end of Metroid Dread game, you receive the message the software was closed because an error occurred and the game forcibly closes. We are aware of an error in Metroid Dread game that prevents the player from proceeding when the specific sequence below is followed near the end of the game. We are preparing a software update to prevent this error, which should be available in October 2021. They did state the end of October as well. Near the end of the game, if the player destroys a door while a map marker for the specific door is displayed on the map, the game will forcibly close and the following message will appear: the software was closed because an error occurred. We apologize for the inconvenience. If you are experiencing this error, please follow the steps. What to do: restart the game, and before playing through this sequence, remove the door icon map marker to prevent this error from occurring. Once the October 2021 software update is available, update the game. So it is an error that can be easily avoided by not putting that map marker, then destroying it, because that causes the error. So once again, it's not like a crazy thing in terms of like it's hard to avoid, like you're going to run into it, like the error that hit Metroid Other M, which completely just stops the progress. You can't get past it. You actually had to send in your save file to Nintendo before they did the whole Nintendo channel thing, which was just terrible. But this was definitely better optimized than some of the other games that Nintendo's put out that had some game crashing bugs. Well, at least with Metroid Other M, there was that one. So I do like the fact that you can get past it, and the fact that they actually addressed, they put it out on all their different social media, on Twitter and everything. And if you're running into the error, once again, it's right there for you guys in terms of what to do. So make sure you don't run into that. So what are your thoughts when it comes to this error here, and how are you enjoying Metroid Dread? I know I've been covering it quite a bit on this channel. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, and moving on here, we have a little bit of a controversial issue that's going on with Mercury Steam, the developers behind the fantastic Metroid Dread on the Nintendo Switch. So there has been some former employees that talked about how their names were not credited in the game at Metroid Dread at the end. You know, you have the credits of everybody who worked on the game, and there were some people that worked on the game that left the company that were not properly credited, and they spoke out against this, and Mercury Steam actually responded to this. Now, Mercury Steam is a company over there in Spain, and they definitely have a little bit different rules than what you would maybe see in some other countries out there when it comes to how much time you work on the game, what you do. And this caused a little bit of a firestorm, especially within the development community, people that work on games saying, well, wait a minute here, like they still worked on the game. Why are they not being included in the credits? So let's go ahead and get into this topic here. So now, according to Spanish site Vandal via Neat, the studio studio has confirmed a policy in which developers who worked for less than 25% of the game's total development time are not included in the credits. The company is said to make exceptions for exceptional contributions, though the specifics surrounding this are unclear. Mercury Steam employees say that Metroid Dread was in the works for 4 years, meaning staff would need to have been involved for at least 12 months to be credited. Now, 3D artist Roberto M. wrote this on his LinkedIn page, quote, "I would like to sincerely congratulate the Metroid Dread team for putting out such an exceptional game. I am not surprised by the quality of the game, as the amount of talent on the team was through the roof. I know it's firsthand because despite not appearing in the game's credits, I was part of the team for about 8 months. Now, Vandal also brings up another source at Mercury Steam who said that he was not included in the Metroid Dread's credits despite working on the project for 11 months, so he just missed that company policy time. The person said, quote, "Not accrediting the work of the team that puts all the love in the project and the effort is a very ugly practice." Now, Mr. Roberto M., who had since left Mercury Steam, says he may not be appearing in the credits for Metroid Dread stemming from his departure from the company. He says the studio includes a clause in the contracts that requires employees to provide 42 working days notice if they intend to leave their positions. It's worth noting that Spain has a workers' statute of only 15 days minimum. When Roberto M. left Mercury Steam before providing the required notice, he was hit with a financial penalty. So there's definitely some issues across the board here when it comes down to it. But I'm actually more interested in hearing your thoughts on how you guys feel about this, depending on what's going on. There are some policies that they did sign up for that all of the employees do know, but at the same time, is it right for them to say, hey, you have to be working here for at least 25%? So right there, if you're like at 24 or 24.5 or whatever the case is, you still don't get your name in there when you dedicated your time and effort into this project. So it's a bit rough. It's a bit rough, and I feel that their names probably should be in there, but it is the policy that they have so far. So what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comment section. All right, and moving on to the final topic here, guys, we have some information on the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. We have the release date for that and also the pricing, and this has definitely caused a bit of a firestorm online in terms of everything. So let's go ahead and go over the information first. Nintendo of America actually put out this information during the Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Direct, or Animal Crossing's Direct. So they kind of did like a little combo thing, putting it together, because there is information on the paid DLC that's going to be part of this Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. Now, it's officially launching on October 25th, so that's coming up pretty soon here. It does give you access once again to a library of Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games, Animal Crossing New Horizons Happy Home Paradise at no additional cost, and all the other benefits of the Nintendo Switch Online, like the cloud saves and also the NES games, the Super Nintendo games, everything that you already know, all of those with online play with it. The Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack is releasing on October 25th, so it's coming up pretty soon here. Now, the problem for many people is definitely the price. It is $50 a year, so that is more than 100% increase over what we got with the basic Nintendo Switch Online. Now, this is an expansion. You don't need to pay for this tier if you want to play games online or still have access to your Super Nintendo games or your NES games. It is an additional thing, but people are still kind of shocked with it going up that much. Now, I know I predicted on my live streams anywhere between, I think, like $10 to $20. That's what I thought it was going to be, maybe $40 a year, but no, it goes up to $50 a year, and I can already see many people feel that that is way too much for what they are offering here with this service. And I have to somewhat agree with some of the complaints in terms of the criticism with it. I do feel that that's definitely a big jump up from where it was before, and I feel that if Nintendo wants to justify this type of price for the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, they definitely need to be more consistent with the game's rollout. I think that N64 games online play Genesis games, adding more systems is absolutely amazing, but having some type of consistency in terms of when they come out would do a lot better to justify this. They just say, hey, these games are coming at launch and we don't know when other games are coming, but they'll be coming. I think it needs to be more consistent, at least one Sega Genesis game and one N64 game every single month. And I feel that if they do that, then people would be more inclined to pay that type of price. Because if you remember before on the Wii U or the Wii, N64 games, I think were $10 or so on those services, or maybe a bit more depending on what game it was. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below. It was a bit more. So definitely if you're looking at it from that perspective, then yeah, it's good. But still, considering what the competition does offer, if you're just doing a basic comparison, I know a lot of people are going to feel that this is too much for this service in terms of what they are offering now. Now, another thing that they could do in order to make things a bit better is if they offered other types of DLC packs in here if you subscribe to this service, right? Because it's something that you have to do every single year. So it's not like you get to keep the DLC packs, right? Not get to keep this, because like the Happy Home Paradise, that's something that you're probably gonna want to play over a long course of time, but will you want to subscribe for that course of time? Not so much on that for everybody when it comes down to it. So if they were able to add in stuff like, let's say, Torn of the Golden Country DLC, or some stuff from like Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, if that type of thing was added into this over the course of time, then I feel that people would probably feel a bit better with the price too. So Nintendo definitely has their work cut out with them when it comes to convincing people to get this. Now, I do feel that there are going to be a lot of people who do want to pick this up just because the value with the N64 games compared to what we had before with the online play. So if you're someone who always buys Virtual Console N64 games, then maybe this is something that you're not going to have a problem with. And I completely understand it from that perspective. But I do feel that Nintendo should definitely make some additions if they're going to charge a $50 price. Make some additions to when people know when they're going to be getting these certain type of games, or make it more consistent in order to increase the transparency. Now at $20, that's obviously a bit different than paying for $50 a year. So I do feel that Nintendo can do that in order to make this service not only better for the people in terms of what they're getting, but also, once again, transparency to know, hey, you're going to be getting these games, you're going to be getting a new game every single month, or a new couple games for the premium, $50 a year. Now for Nintendo Switch Online members, the N64 style controllers and Sega Genesis style control pads are now available for pre-order. Those are $50 a pop. So if you are a Nintendo Switch Online member and you want those replica style controllers, and of course the Rumble Pack is built in with the Nintendo 64 controller, you can head over to the pre-order link on the Nintendo.com website as well. The Happy Home Paradise Animal Crossing DLC, that is dropping on November 5th. October 25th is when the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack does come out. Then November 5th, you'll be able to get that. You can buy it separately for $24.99, or if you're a Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack member, you get it in there for no additional cost. So I think that wraps it up for all of the information on there. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Are you planning on getting the Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack? What do you think about the Animal Crossing DLC? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button if you didn't already do so. Subscribe if you're someone new. Click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.